Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create database in pouchdb. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that we have pouchdb installed. So for that you type in npm install then pouchdb and make sure that you save it. So /save flag. If you are a yarn user, you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, that should achieve the same thing. Now in your project you can open that in Project Explorer with Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code. Now here what I'm going to do is where pouchdb equals to, let's say, require to call for pouchdb. Yeah, so next is creating db variable, then calling pouchdb, and this is where we declare our database name. So let's say mydb is the name. Now how to verify whether we created this or not? You can see new directory here created immediately after we execute this code, but we can also verify by typing in db.info, then using then info. Okay, and here what we can do is simply use console.log. Okay, now we will simply use node index.js, and here you can see information about our new database as well as the directory in Project Explorer where you can see the files added for our project. If you can see this, that means you created a database in pouchdb. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can connect to pouchdb database. So first thing being, we need to install pouchdb in our projects folder before we can connect. So open your command prompt. Let's assume I have project in this pdb directory. Here I'm going to type in npm install pouchdb /save. If you want yarn, you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, either one of these will work, so you can use the one which is comfortable for you. Now once you add your pouchdb, let's open it in a Project Explorer of Sublime Text or your Visual Studio Code. Now here you can see I have created index.js. Okay, now here I'm going to first create pouchdb variable that will call for our pouchdb. Then we can also use db variable that will create new instance of pouchdb and call for our database mydb. Okay, now what we'll do is we will use db.info, then use .then method. Okay, and we will basically output the info. Okay, now here in command prompt simply type in node and index.js, and here you can see it created mydb database along with the information about that database. Okay, so your pouchdb will create this even if it is not existing there. So you get the idea how to connect to pouchdb database. Okay, we will take a look at how to create a document in pouchdb. So what we will do is we will open command prompt and we will create our first project. So I already created one project and added it into Sublime Text. Here you can see I have created mydb as pouchdb database. Okay, so if you haven't already, then install pouchdb by typing in npm install -g and then pouchdb. Okay, if you want, you can also make use of yarn to install pouchdb. For that you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, now you can go ahead, open that project in Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code. Here you can see I already have mydb database, and that's where I am going to add new document. So first thing, let's call for pouchdb require. Next will be creating a db variable. Right here we have to assign our database name. If it's not created, then a new directory will be created with this name. And now we will add a document. So let's create a doc variable, and within curly bracket we are going to add our data, so underscore id. Let's assign it instead of letting our pouchdb do it for us. So I'm assigning id 001. Then I'm also going to add a name. You can add your name if you want. Make sure you use comma after that. And let's see, we will just restrict it to salary. Right now save this, and next thing we will be doing is using db and then dot put. This will put our document, which is doc, and then we will call for function error and response. Now what we will do is we will check if error, then we will just use console.log and output that error. Else we will use console.log and here document created. Right, so open command prompt and here type in node and then your index.js, and here you can see document is created. And you can see this is the message that we passed. You can change it to any other standard message if you want, so that it will appear here. So you get the idea how to create document in pouchdb. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can add multiple batch of documents in pouchdb. So what we're going to do is on command prompt we are going to install pouchdb by typing in npm install then pouchdb /save. If you wish to use yarn, you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, both will achieve the same thing. Now open your project in Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code, and in index.js we are going to use our MyDB database. So let's say I call for pouchdb. Right now in var.db we are going to first call for pouchdb then reference to MyDB. Now let's create our first document, doc1, and inside this let's go with underscore id as 005. Let's say name to xyz, salary to say 2000. Right now let me copy this multiple times. Okay, so we will add 3 entries, doc1, doc2 and doc3. Change the numbers 6 and 7. Let's see YYZ and ZXZ. Okay, then let's make change to salary as well so that we can see the difference. Now use doc equals to, within array pass on doc1, doc2, doc3. Okay, next thing would be to simply use db dot bulk docs, then pass the docs function error, and then we pass on response. Right now here let's error check. If error, we are going to catch that error and we will simply put it in console.log. else we will simply output console.log, and then we will pass the message document batch added, right? Okay, so what we can do now is we will simply open command prompt, type in node index.js. Okay, sorry, so there is some typo. I need to clean that. Okay, so I made a bunch of typo mistakes here. Seems like this is doc and not docs. And here you go, your document is now added. Okay, so if you get this message, then all these 3 documents are now added. You can read your document and check if these entries are added. So let's take a look at how you can update document in PouchDB. So first thing, make sure that you have installed PouchDB by typing in npm install, then pouchdb, then /save. Okay, similarly you can also use yarn add, then pouchdb. Okay, either one of these methods should work. And what you can do after that is open that project in Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code, and in index.js file you can simply go ahead and call your pouchdb, and we will also create one more variable. Let's name this db, and it will be accessing our database. So that's my db, as you can see in the folder here, right? This is the database folder. Now first thing we will do is we will first get our document using db.get, and I want to get basically first document with function error and document, and here if error we will use console.log, right? And error here, else we will use console.log and document. Okay, let's run this and see how it goes. So node index.js, and here you can see you get data for your first document id underscore id 001. You can also copy this revision id in case if you wish to update that. So we will copy this, right? Now we will come back here. We can remove this code if you want, and we just have to focus on new document. So doc equals to, within curly bracket we are checking for underscore id 001, then we will change the salary to, let's say, 8500. so that's the big change I'm going to make. Then we put our revision id, right, and we're done. So next thing would be to use db.put doc, right? We made the change and we appended the change. Now we will do is db.get, and then we will run the previous code again. Okay, so yeah, we can keep the previous code that we just deleted, or we can write it again, doesn't matter, right? So if error console.log error, and then else console.log doc, right? So we'll see if that change is appended. So let's see, run the code again, and here you see now the update has updated my salary here and also updated my revision id. So you get the idea how to update the document in PouchDB. So let's take a look at how you can read document in PouchDB. So first thing, make sure that you install your PouchDB, and to do that we type in npm install pouchdb-save. Also if you have yarn, you can also use yarn simply use yarn and pouchdb instead of your npm. Okay, one of these methods should work, and you can open your project in Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code. And this one is mine, where I have my DB database as pouchdb database. Okay, and I also created index.js file so that I can access this document from it. Okay, so now here, first thing, type in var pouchdb and call for your pouchdb. Next thing, use var db and create new pouchdb instance, or you can access existing one by simply calling for that instance. Next thing, we will use db.get. So if you have written document before, you notice it is db.put. In this case, you are using db.get, and here you have to point out to your document, let's say 001, and then we call for function error and the response. Okay, now if there is any error, then we should be getting that in console, else we will be just getting our document back, right? So open command prompt, make sure you're in this directory where your project is, and then simply use node then index.js. Now here, notice that doc is not defined. The reason being, we are supposed to call for doc instead of this resource. So I can use resource here instead of doc, or simply let's use the keyword doc. Okay, now we can go ahead, clean this up and run again, and here you can see you get your document here. Now when you update your document, make sure that you include this revision ID as well. Okay, so you get the idea how to read document in pouchdb. So let's take a look at how you can read batch of document data in pouchdb. So what we're going to do is open command prompt and make sure we have pouchdb installed. So we will use npm install pouchdb-save. Now if you want yarn, you can use yarn then add pouchdb. Okay, one of these should work. Now open Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text, make sure to add your project folder, and here you can see I have my DB database here. So this database is from pouchdb. I also created index.js where we are going to write the code. So var pouchdb equals to require, then call for pouchdb. Now we will go for db variable, then we are going to use our mydb. Now next thing, we will use db.alldocs, and here we will basically use function then error and doc. Okay, now let's go ahead and use if error, then what we'll do is console.log catch the error, then we will use else part, and then we use console.log doc.rows. So all the rows from the result set will be displayed. Okay, so open command prompt, and here what we're going to do is type in node then index.js, and here you can see my first document, second, third, fourth, all the values including this revision value is shown here. Okay, so you get the idea how to read batch of documents using pouchdb. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can get all the documents from PouchDB database. I assume that you have PouchDB installed. If not, you can open command prompt and here you type in npm install pouchdb-save. Okay, if you have yarn, you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, so either one of that should work, and in your Sublime Text or Visual Studio you can add the folder of your project. Now here you can see I have my DB database, and here I'm going to write my code which is in index.js. Now first thing, let's call for our pouchdb, right? We're going for require pouchdb and also create instance of our database. So new pouchdb and call for mydb. Now here we are going to use db.alldocs. Okay, now here what we're going to do is we are going to use include underscore docs set to true. Okay, and then we will use function error and also doc. So let's go ahead and catch the error and output that with console log, right? And in else part we will simply output our doc. So notice that when we output through this method, what it will do is it will show us the ID of those documents, but it will not show us actual content of that document. Okay, for that we have to read each row. Okay, so what we'll do is first we will only look at how to read the list of documents. So for that we type in node index.js, and here you can see I totally have a list of 7 documents, and as you can see values are not shown here, instead object value is passed. So you get the idea how to get how many rows you have in a PouchDB and how to return that count and some initial key value pairs. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can delete the document in PouchDB. So first thing, make sure that you have installed PouchDB. For that you can type in npm install pouchdb-save. Okay, if you have yarn, you can also make use of yarn add pouchdb, and that should accomplish the same thing. Now what you can do is you can open your project in Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. Here you can see my DB folder where I have my database content, and in index.js I'm going to write my code to first call for our pouchdb library. So require pouchdb, then db equals to new pouchdb, and then you can simply pass on your mydb database. Now here you can type in, let's say, database with document ID number 007, and here we have error and doc to be checking. Now for error checking we will simply console log error, and to check doc we will simply use console log doc. Okay, now I will run this file in one of the command prompt by typing in node index.js, and we have to collect the revision ID, so we'll wait for that. Okay, now here you can see the revision ID. This is what we need in order to delete this particular document. So let me copy this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this part out so that I can reuse again later. Now what we will do is we will use db.remove, and then we will simply pass on our document with ID number 007. Okay, now here I need to also pass on that revision ID that just copied right now. After that we will use function, then error. So let's catch our error, and then output console.log error, and else part we use console.log and say document.delete, or say document deleted. Either one of that should work. Okay, so you can type in something short like pouchdb document delete worked or document deleted. Okay, so now we will open another command prompt and type in node index.js, and here you see currently it says invalid revision format, so we will need to check that. Now let's execute again. So node index.js, and here you see it says document deleted. Now you can verify that simply by commenting this part out. Right, now let's go here and run the code again, and here you see reason this document is deleted, it won't be accessible. So you get the idea how to delete a document from pouchdb. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can batch delete the documents from pouchdb. So first thing, make sure that you have pouchdb installed, and here I'm going to use npm install pouchdb, then /save. If you have yarn, then you can use yarn add pouchdb. Okay, either one of that should work. Okay, now open your project in Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. Here you can see my DB folder, which is for pouchdb data. Okay, now here first thing, let's call for our pouchdb library, then go for require pouchdb, then var db equals to new pouchdb, and here we specify our database. Now I wish to read all the content from database, so I will use all docs. Okay, so this should read all our content, and we can use error and doc to read, and to catch the error we use if error, and then we will use console log error, else we should just display the data in doc rows. Okay, now here you can see list of revision ID for those documents as well, so we'll wait for that. Now here simply type in node index.js, and here you see list of all the document IDs and their respective revision ID. Right, so what we'll do is we'll open another command prompt so that we can retain these values in this window. Okay, then we use another prompt to navigate to this directory. Now what I will do is I will simply comment this part out. Okay, now here what we need to do is type in docs equals to, and within square bracket we are going to specify which documents we need deleted. So we'll use _id colon and then specify those documents. So let's say 5, 6 and 7 I wish to delete, and I have to mention that revision ID as well. So let's open that prompt, and here is the revision ID for 5. Okay, so let's go with that 5. Copy that, and we'll also delete one more, which is 6. So let's paste it here. So make sure that your revision ID carries underscore before that, and we have to also choose underscore deleted. So deleted set to true. Right, now let's add one more entry. Here we just make changes in 2 things, which is revision ID, which is 6, and also underscore ID. So for this we have to go back and check, right? Copy this and then paste it here, right? Okay, so you will see the change in values, and also the property underscore deleted set to true. Right, now next thing would be to use db.bulk_docs, and we pass in docs here, and then we use error and response. Okay, and here we check for error as usual. So if error, console.log error, else we will simply output document deleted, or more like documents deleted, because we are deleting the 2 documents, right? So open command prompt and run node index.js, and if it returns with documents deleted, then you get the idea that our documents here are actually removed, which you can verify by simply commenting the above part and okay, running this one. Okay, so let's run the code again, and here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, where you can see 5th and 6th deleted in our current program. So you get the idea how to batch delete documents in PouchDB. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can delete PouchDB database from your project. So I assume that you have already created your project and have one PouchDB database in it. Okay, in my case, as you can see here, I have this project where I have database named IBMDB2, which is a PouchDB database. Okay, so these are some of the files it contains. Okay, and as you can see, it has its own folder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a code in JavaScript to remove this database. Okay, so to do that, what we will do is we will write in var pouchdb equals to require, and then we point to pouchdb, then var db equals to new pouchdb, and here we are going to point to our database. Make sure the name is correct. Okay, now what we will do is we will use db.destroy. Okay, now inside that we have to use error checking, so we'll use error and response. Now here, if there is an error, we will simply return console.log error, and else we will simply just return db deleted. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll open command prompt. Make sure you are in the same directory where you have this project. Okay, now type in node, then index.js. Okay, as you can see on the left hand side, that folder is also deleted from our project explorer. Okay, so if you have Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code, you can immediately see this change, and also you will get message that db is deleted. Okay, so everything works correctly and your pouchdb database is now deleted.